LeaderCast.
This week on the Deep Leadership Podcast.
So what makes a leader? My experience is a leader has a mission or a vision that's actually bigger than themselves. And it includes bringing in people to the mission because it's going to take more than just the leader to accomplish the mission.
Hi, and welcome to Deep Leadership. I'm your host, John Rennie. Well, I hope all is well with you today. I'm so glad you found this podcast. Now, the purpose of this podcast is to build a world with better bosses. And we do this by introducing you to the greatest minds working in the leadership space. Our goal is to provide you with practical information to help you along your leadership path, whether you're new to leadership or a seasoned pro. So thank you for listening in. It's an honor to be your host and leadership guide in this journey. Today's episode is brought to you by the Salty Sailor Coffee Company, Leader Connect, and Faro Skincare. And you can find the links to all of our sponsors and all of my books in the show notes. Today, I'm joined by Cary, Prejean. Cary joins me to talk about one of the biggest gaps in leadership, and that is understanding your financial performance. Now, you can't build a great business unless you understand the financial fundamentals. It's our job as leaders to make sure that we run a financially strong business so we can continue to provide good jobs to our employees. Leadership is about people and results, and today we're talking about how to properly manage the results. This is an episode that every leader needs to hear, so are you ready to dive in? Let's get started.
Welcome to Deep Leadership. Leadership is a people business. That's the philosophy of your podcast host, John Rennie. As a former Cold War submarine officer who spent 20 plus years leading businesses in corporate America before starting his own manufacturing business, he knows that leadership matters. Are you ready for some real-world actionable advice from John as well as his expert guests?
I'm ready.
The show starts right now.
Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today I'm joined by Cary Prejean. Cary is the president, CEO, and founder of Strategic Business Advisors and brings over 35 years of expertise to growing businesses. He champions streamlined business practices, simplifying financial insights to just 1 hour a week for owners. With a degree in accounting and a CPA license, Cary brings real-time cash management dashboards and detailed monthly reports, fostering system-oriented operations. A strategic visionary in long-term planning, he's guided countless businesses in personal growth, effectiveness, leadership, and team dynamics. And I'm excited to have him on the show to learn from his expertise. So, Cary, welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, John. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I'm excited to talk about the work that you do. But first of all, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to start the business that you're in and do the work specifically that you do.
Right. Well, going back originally, this is going back into the 80s, working with small business owners as an employee, as a controller, and eventually the chief financial officer, what I saw was business owners don't know how to read their financial statement, like at all. I mean, they know where the cash is, they look at the sales, they see if there's a profit or not. But in terms of doing any kind of an analysis and then getting some narrative to, okay, there's some things that you change up, that our financial statements improve, our profitability will improve, our liquidity, our financial strength will improve. They were kind of clueless about all that. And they didn't have anything during the month to tell them how the business is going. Because once you get the financial statements next month, there's nothing to do about last month, except wish you could have done something. So I've developed what I call dashboards over the years to tell them different things about how the business is going, like how's sales going. How's receivables? How's inventory? How's payables? Are your taxes being filed and paid? What's your cash projection over the next 6 to 10 weeks look like? Different things, just to give them a 1,000-foot view of their business once a week with their management team so they can see, and the reason I call them dashboards, and now a lot of people are using the term dashboards, but it's because like a dashboard on your car, you normally don't pay attention to it except when it flashes as a problem. And that's what you want to use dashboard for rather than. And I've seen those spend a half a day going through accounts payable, what are we going to pay, not pay, or going through receivables or trying to talk about collection. Waste of their time, because that's not what they're trained for. That's not what they're good at. What they're good at is having a good vision, seeing what opportunities are out there, and then knowing how to make money with that, right? That's what got them into business to start with. They saw an opportunity to make some money, and they did it. And so they kept doing it, and they've grown the organization. They've gotten bigger. They've gotten a bigger circle of customers and influence, what have you, and they grew the business. But then they get stymied in that they're so concerned about the business has to be run the way I do it. They're very insistent on my way, doing everything my way. So what they do is they teach the employees there to only take things so far, and then the owner has to come in, rescue the day, put out the fire. And what I talk to business owners about, usually one of the first things I'm talking about is that you're not a good manager. But I started the business. I own the business. I've been in the business since the day one. I'm obviously the best manager. Let's look at the skill sets of a good manager. A good manager wants nice, steady, repeatable, boring, consistent results with consistent process, right? They're also more of a team player. They're also patient, and they want to take care of their people. They might want to educate them, coach them up a little bit. They're patient, and they want some good guidelines and rules and processes for everybody to follow. It makes it easy that way. Entrepreneur is very dominant. They're not they don't play well with others in terms of teams. In fact, I had one time he had me write a letter to one of his top salesmen, and I said something about, I've enjoyed working with you over these past years. He goes, that's not accurate. I don't work with him. He works for me. Wow. Yeah. So you're telling me where you're coming from. Anyway, they're very dominant. They want that way. They're very extroverted. They can talk to people. That's why they can build a network of customers, vendors, really well, because they're easy talking to people. They're good at it. They also don't want steady. They hate steady. It's boring. I've seen business owners change the process because, quote, it looked boring. They like fast pace, or like change of gears. Some of them actually do well in chaos. They have all kinds of things going on. They're doing well. They handle it. No problem. And the last thing they want for them, they don't want any structure. They don't want any guidelines. They don't want any rules. I'll handle it when I get there. And I've had several clients over the years tell me, we really like the results you're producing, we're seeing here. We don't like all the rules. Wow, it's so cool producing the results. Anyway, so the thing is I don't want to not do anything in my company, but yes, that's where we need to get to where you have very little interaction with the company, because your skills demand that you go do this visionary revenue generation by yourself, and you're not a good manager. So let's build some processes. Let's get some managers who can make sure the employees follow the processes, and then the thing will work for you. Because right now you're working for the business. You're probably working $80 to $100 a week. Can't take extended time off. You're frustrated because your employees, quote, just don't get it. That makes sense. So, and everybody talks about, I want a next level business. I want to take my business to the next level. What does that mean? And most people say, well, a lot more revenue, latest, greatest stuff. We're number one that in our business, in the territory, and in our market. And actually, here's my definition of next level business. It's a business that now works for you, the business owner, because you become the leader that leads your company to that next level, rather than you going to be the manager that manages that level. You're not going to manage the next level because you're not that good a manager. You can have managers that manage the company, so it works for you, provide you. And the other thing that's going to happen is as you spend more time doing the visionary revenue generation, then your revenue is going to go up, your profit should go up, your cash flow should be better, right? So you need to become the leader that takes your business to the next level. That makes sense?
Yeah.
You're not going to manage it there. You're going to lead it there. So what does it take to be a leader, a good leader? That's a good question. Most people assume, you say the word leader and everybody has kind of their own idea of it. What does it really mean to be a good leader? And nobody asks that question. So, some first thing you want to do if you're a leader, if you think you're a leader, look behind you and see if there's anybody following.
Yeah.
Employees don't count. They're there for a paycheck. And I'm not saying your employees can't be a follower of whatever your vision is, but if they're there just for a paycheck, as in most companies, they're not really followers. They're, here's a different way to look at them. They're mercenaries. They're there to do a job and get paid for it. So what makes a leader? My experience is a leader has a mission or a vision that's actually bigger than themselves. And it includes bringing in people to the mission because it's going to take more than just the leader to accomplish the mission. That makes sense? So you have to have a mission that is seductive enough to want that other people want to enroll in your game and your mission. They're going to want to follow you, and they're going to be committed to having the mission completed, not necessarily following you, but they're committed to the mission. That makes sense. I mean, if you look at the military talks about everything in the mission. If you see these pre-combat things where the captain or whoever's talking to the troops, it's a good mission. It's a moral mission. Those are the enemy. They've done some bad things. We're going to go there and we're going to do these different tactics and we're going to take the enemy out, right? But they're talking about mission. So that's what the business owners don't do. They're used to transactional relationships where I pay you, therefore you do what I say. And you're going to do it my way. And and this is the thing we're working towards. So, and this is your place in the organization. I have a relatively new client. I've been working with a few months, and he's learning to step back and not everything my way. But the hard thing for him to get is that your vision of your company, when you talk to your managers, needs to include, and this is where I see you going. This is where I see you're part of the vision. This is what you're going. I envision you being the general manager someday. I envision you being the chief financial officer one day. I see y'all two running the business for me, so I can go off and do the visionary thing and create them. In other words, what is that part of the mission that they're going to become engaged? What they say, what I like is empowered. Engaged is one thing. Empowered is a whole other level. So how do you empower your employees to actually want to be part of your mission? And again, it's the way you empower them to be part of your mission is the way they get to empower people who report to them as part of the mission. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that's consistent in what you're saying is that one of the things I found with entrepreneurs is a lot of them get stuck. You can grow it to a certain level, and with your outgoing personality, your ideas, your ability to convince others, you can get to a certain level with that. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck because they're just using force of will to get to a certain level. They haven't really developed the team, right, to take it truly to the next level, to where they can focus on the vision, focus on where we're headed, and allow others to kind of run the show, because they hold everything so tight to the vest, right? I'm the guy who invented this technology. I'm the one that's going to tell you what to do. This is my baby. This is my business. And oftentimes, and I love how you started off with the discussion, that oftentimes people who make a really good product or have a really good service, they have no idea about the financial statements. They have no idea about the money. And one of the things what's interesting to me, when I made the transition from corporate life to entrepreneurial life, I went from being P&L focused and really understanding my P&L up and down to where cash flow became much more critical in your own business. So I learned a lot of cash flow tactics in the last 8 years as my own, was running the business on my own. They used to tell us in corporate, cash is king. And we'd be like, we had access to so much capital, we never even thought about cash. And we played the game in corporate, but we didn't really care. Like, it was a number on a piece of paper.
Yeah. Whereas now it's your money.
Now it's my money, right? And now it's like, I know the timing. I know when customer payments are going to come in. I know when my payroll is due. I know when I pay my health insurance for my employees. It's like, I know it's a cash flow game a lot more than a P&L game. And then the P&L is sort of like, it's almost like after the whole, it's like all the smoke is clear from the month, and then you get a chance to look at it and say, how do we do? So, but it's a rear view mirror thing, right? Isn't it?
Yes. And again, that's a traditional accounting model. Yeah. It's like, this is last month or last year's financial statement. This is last month's tax return for sales tax. This is last year's income tax return. But it's never about, and these are some strategic things you should be thinking about or considering about improving your business going forward. And that's what I found was lacking from the accounting training that I got, that went through the whole big 8 accounting firm. That model was always about, I was told several times, a good accountant is a good scorekeeper. Okay. Well, here's the score, but it's nothing about, I need some strategies you should use in the next quarter to improve your game.
Yeah, I think it needs to be more like a coach. I mean, it's a scorekeeper, yes, but also a coach to help you say, here's what I've noticed. This is trending up. This is trending down. There's other options here. Why are we spending so much money, here
Right.
where we could do other things? I think having a CFO who's a coach who can as an advisor, as a confidant, right, that can really help you steer the ship to say, hey, I'm looking out for your best interests here, and this is what I'm seeing happening, and that's really helpful if you find the right resource that can do that.
Right. And again, my experience of the CFO, one who's going to be a strategic partner, somebody who's going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
And who's going to be more of a guide. They're not going to tell you what to do, but they're going to help guide you. That's the thing with entrepreneurs. Generally, they have so many ideas. They see so many possibilities. You need help narrow it down like, okay, these are the best 2, maybe 3 ideas I'm going to pursue. Some of your ideas are good. We can pursue them later if it's something, once you get these things going. Some aren't so good. We should really not consider those unless you can develop them better. But it's now focusing their energy, focusing where they're headed into the really top 2, maybe 3 ideas that they have. You can't implement them all at the same time. It diffuses too much of your energy, diffuses too much of your resources, too much of your attention. You can't keep that many plates going, right? Mm-hmm. So a good CFO, a good strategic partner is going to help you do that. Help the entrepreneur do that and help them actually. And it's like I say, devil's advocate. They could be the sounding board. Is that what you really want to do? What message are you sending when you say that to the employees? What message are we saying to our customers or our suppliers if we do such a thing like you're talking about? Mm. And again, I say questions. They're not going to tell you what to do. They're going to ask you questions. Or let me say it this way: asking questions is the best way to get the other person to think.
Yeah.
Right? Thinking. Most people equate thinking with having thoughts. That's not thinking. That's just having the same old thoughts. There's nothing new there. There's no new distinctions. There's no aha and having the same old thoughts over and over again. What allows thinking is asking questions, right? Because there you got to come up with an answer, and maybe you don't know, and maybe you got and maybe what else is possible? What don't you see here? What can you learn here? Those are questions that are going to help open your thinking to, well, I don't know, what else is there? That's where innovation comes from. That's where, quote, the better mousetrap, the better way to do things, that's where all that comes from.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Pharaoh Skincare. I would have never imagined I'd be talking about skincare, but this stuff is truly amazing. Pharaoh is revolutionizing skincare by replacing harmful chemicals with natural ingredients sourced from regenerative farms. Now, weightlifting is tough on the hands, and Pharaoh's Epidermis is the best product I've ever used to get my callous hands back to normal and stay in the game. Now I use it every day. Pharaoh also works to reduce fine lines, wrinkles, and improve overall skin health. As Pharaoh CEO Charles Mayfield likes to say, a little Pharaoh goes a long way. Deep Leadership Podcast listeners can save 15% off all of their products by using the code DEEP at checkout. So check them out at pharaoh.life. That's FARROW.life. This episode is brought to you by the Salty Sailor Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Deep Leadership Podcast. Salty Sailor is a veteran-owned coffee brand on a mission to deliver premium, fresh roasted coffee while making a positive impact in the world. Their motto is drink coffee and do good, which reflects their commitment to making amazing coffee and actively supporting the military community. 10% of every order goes to the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, an organization dedicated to helping sailors, Marines, and their families in times of need. All our listeners get 10% off every order of their amazing coffee by using the discount code DEEP at checkout. So check them out at saltysailorcoffee.com. I love that you're touching on something that's really, key to my belief in terms of leadership is I often say that, leaders don't have to have all the right answers, right? But we have to have the right questions. And I think questions are a really important thing. And I tell the story, and probably listeners have heard the story before, but where I had a new boss come into corporate and we were doing well. The business I was running had 70% market share. We were crushing it. And so we were growing every year. I mean, we were on the top of the world. We were very successful in what we did. And so we had a new boss come in from the outside, from a competitor. And so I had a meeting with him. He's my new boss. I sat down with him. And the first thing he said to me is, what are you going to do? What can you do to double your business? And I was like, I was offended because we were 70% market share. I was like, you can't, I was like, I don't know if you know about who we are. Like, and I was really proud of our success. We're 70% market share. We're not going to be able to double our business. And I see, we probably can grow maybe another 10% or so. And I was sharing all this. He said, you're not listening to me. Come back with a plan to double your business. I want to see what you can do. And it was really frustrating. And I brought it to my team and we started brainstorming around it. And it was actually one guy, our marketing manager, that said, well, maybe, because we were making a product that did X. And we said, well, maybe we're not just making this product. Maybe we're in the business of all products that do X. And suddenly it turns out we weren't 70% market share. When we looked at the market differently, we had about 5% market share. And it was this whole world that we didn't even think about. But it was that one question that challenged us. And by the way, after 5 years, we ended up doubling the business. And so we got into some industries that we hadn't previously been into. So that one question got us to think differently. And like you said, innovation, we thought of our business differently after that question. So we thought we were great and we're at the top of our games. It turns out we were a little player in a bigger market, and we didn't see it that way until that question was asked.
So what the question allowed you to do was to come up with the distinction of we're not just in this market, we're actually in this much bigger market. It was always there. You just didn't see it. That makes sense?
See it.
And that's the power of distinctions. Distinctions allow us to make better, more deft, more powerful moves, even though it's maybe just much. I mean, you think of world-class athletes, why do they all have coaches? Because you can't see yourself in the middle of performing. That's why, right? Yeah. They can see you. They generally have a lot more experience with the game or the sport. So they know some things you don't know in terms of strategy and tactics. They can look at your performance and say, look at somebody like Tiger Woods. He had a strength coach, a swing coach, a health, whatever, physical fitness coach, all his coaches in it, just trying to, I remember when he first came out, they were trying to get him to change his swing a little bit, and it didn't ruin his game, but he wasn't playing as well until he learned how to do the different swing. Same thing with Michael Jordan, right? Phil Jackson, excuse me. The Bulls had won, 2 NBA championships in a row. They were coming back and they're talking 3-peat. Well, Bulls organization was talking about, we might want to get rid of Phil Jackson, right? Michael Jordan came out and said, if Jackson's not back, I'm not back. And what it showed you is somebody as elite an athlete, world-class athlete Michael Jordan, he got the value of a really good coach. Phil Jackson got him to those 2 national NBA championships. We're not going to throw him out now. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
So, but because Phil Jackson had some distinctions. Listen, Jordan was a good player, naturally gifted, naturally athletic, but he didn't make the varsity in his freshman year in high school, right? He had to come back and he asked the coach, what can I do in the offseason? And he showed him, practice the layouts, practice dribbles, practice foul shots. He came back in sophomore year in high school and made the varsity team. And he wanted to play for, was it North Carolina, I think? Yeah. And he was a good basketball player, but he was 3rd round draft pick. It wasn't like he was, this big wunderkind that came out of the college, the NCAA, and everybody wanted him. He's 3rd round draft pick. Well, how did he go from 3rd round draft pick to, I'd say the best basketball player ever? I'm not even that much of a basketball fan, but I'm a huge fan of Michael Jackson. So what was it? What was it that allowed him to make that leap from pretty good college player to world-class professional athlete? And again, a lot of this is hard work, gifted athletically, but he has said in several interviews, it was his coaching and them telling him how, try and do it this way, maybe try, just little distinctions here and there that allowed him to elevate his game beyond what anybody thought he could play when he first came out of college. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does. And I really, we've talked about on the show, I really believe that if you're in a leadership position, it doesn't even matter what level you're at. I think having a mentor or a coach is really critical. It certainly was successful for me. It helped me sort of, especially my first major leadership role where I was running a plant, having someone that I could talk to and bounce ideas off of and have them challenge my assumptions that was critical for me to reach a high level of performance, which elevated my career. So I highly recommend that leaders have a mentor or coach, and
Right.
And I love it. I love it if you can find somebody that's outside your chain of command that you can just be, talk to in confidence, and someone's going to challenge you and help you think through some of the issues in business, because you can't do it all alone. I don't care how talented you are and how smart you are and how you've got the greatest widget in the world. You still need a coach. I love the fact that one of my favorite drummers, Neil Peart of Rush, who passed away, he was considered one of the best rock and roll drummers in history, and he was still taking drum lessons up until the day he died. So, and so he was always working to get better. We as leaders can always be working to get better. And I think that having a coach will challenge us, and so that we make sure that we're not, breathing our own fumes. So we've got, and we think very full of ourselves, right? So,
and the story you told about the guy who challenged you on what are you going to do to double your business reminds me of a client I had. It goes back 2015. I was nearing the end of working with this client because he had really grown, and I was in the process of helping him find a new CFO. And one of the things I had been talking about, I said, you've got this, I forget, 20-something acres in Houston, right near the ship channel, right near Interstate 45, some major transportation hubs. And you've got this antiquated block plant. You're making cinder block. You're doing about $100,000 a month of revenue, and you're breaking even. I said, that piece of property is worth, I don't know how many millions, right?
Yeah.
I said, so you have an undervalued asset. What else can you do with it? Well, he thought an answer was not in question. So he started harping on his COO, make the block plant in Houston more profitable. We're breaking even. We've been doing it for years. What's wrong with you? Get the production up, get the prices up. Well, you couldn't produce anymore because the producing maximum was an old block plant he had bought years before. You couldn't get the prices up because everybody and his blue-eyed cousin made cinder block in Houston. You were limited. You raised prices, you wouldn't sell anymore. So it got, every week when I would attend the executive committee meeting, it got more and more heated. The owner chewing on the COO, why aren't you doing anything with the block plant in Houston? Prejean keeps telling me how it's an undervalued piece of asset, and you're not doing a damn thing. So I talked to the VP of engineering and said, is there anything we can make there that's not being made? Anything we can make that would make a difference without it being? He said, well, there's this product we get out of the UK, and when we order it, that's when they get this raw material together to make the stuff, and it takes weeks to send it over on a boat. And there have been a couple of instances where we had to pay airfare to get this stuff brought in here. It's very expensive, but our margins on it are about 40%, which for that industry, they're in construction materials, was about 10 to 15%. So 40% was not done. Yeah. So I said, okay, get me the numbers together for that equipment to make that product here, and what kind of a housing you want to have in it. So he comes up with this number. I get this extruder machine to make this material, and he proposed a 45,000 square foot warehouse to house the material as well as the extruder. And I think at the time it was going to be, $4.5 million, $5 million. So once the owner said, look, this is what can be done with the Houston property. We can put this up. He said, well, I don't have that kind of money. I said, no, we can get a loan for it. He goes, I don't like talking to bankers. They might ask me, some stuff about financial statements. I'm not. So I said, I'll put a loan package together. I'll go talk to the bankers for you. They knew me. I've been working for them for over 10 years. So I put a loan package together, went and saw the bankers, the head of the bank and one of the senior VPs, and they approved the proposal while I was in the room. Right? So we went back, and I worked with the engineering VP to where the court building the building and getting them to fund the construction loan. Finally got it all together. They got the extruder machine up and running. They had a specialist come in from the UK that had worked for this company, made sure it all ran right. And I saw the engineering VP a couple of years ago. He had been moved up to chief operating officer of the whole company. I said, so how's the extruder, how's Houston? He goes, well, we have 5 warehouses now and 7 extruder machines lines. He says, we manufacture pretty much everything we sell. We're distributing things to South America, the Middle East, Asia, and he said, and we're getting through some, what do you call it? Bureaucratic difficulties, I guess, in Europe, for the lack of a better word. But what happened was, with the profits they were making from all this stuff, that they were able to pay off the entire debt of the company, and then acquired an engineering firm that was closely tied in with the state highways and bridges and all the design and stuff. And I mean, the guy is, as they said, he's very blessed. But he fell back into a pile of money, but only because we were willing to ask what else can be done rather than make the thing profitable, make the thing, you're beating a dead horse, right?
Yeah.
That's the difference of living in answers versus asking questions.
I love that. I just think it's so important that we have to be willing. And what's interesting about my story is that the guy who asked the question didn't know the answer. Like he didn't know already that there was a possibility we could double the business. He just was challenging my cockiness and my 70% market share. And I love that.
He was challenging your perception.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we all have a narrative that shapes what we see and what we don't see. So your perception was, we're 70% of the market. What do you want me to do? Invent more market?
Right.
So stepping back, you saw in your perception, actually, I've been blind to all this other stuff that we could be into.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, okay, now we're at 5%. Of course we can double a business.
Yeah. So it's really, really excellent. And so I've always believed, since that experience in my life, I've always believed that that's our job as leaders, is to ask challenging questions and to see what other ideas bubble up. And the other thing is, oftentimes as leaders, we have to shut up and listen. We have to shut up and listen to these great ideas. And sometimes they seem a little crazy, but I've often found that many of those crazy ideas actually work out. So I'm really open to the crazy ideas.
Right. What's really amazing is what I see a lot in all businesses is something's not working, something's not going right. Owner calls a meeting of his people. He says, okay, this is what's going on. This is what's going wrong. And this is how we're going to fix it. And 6 months later, they have another meeting about the same thing. This is what's going wrong. So what is the dynamic there that it doesn't get fixed?
Yeah.
Well, number one, the owner doesn't do the nitty gritty of whatever's not working. So he doesn't, or she doesn't really know. Right. And they're saying, this is the answer. This is how I'm going to do it my way. So who takes ownership of that?
Yeah.
Nobody.
No one does. Yeah.
Nobody. That's your baby. So when it doesn't work, we do what you said. Instead of saying, are you familiar with Simon Sinek? He talks a lot about leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, leaders always talk last. You always here's a problem. What do you think? What do you think? They talk last. Because as soon as a business owner says, this is a problem, this is what I'm going to do, any suggestions? Nope.
Yeah.
It each has come down from on high, and no, I'm not going to offer some idea you probably would think of as stupid because it's not your idea. But again, some of the best ideas I've seen have come out of asking employees who actually do the job. They're in the nitty gritty of it. They're the ones, they see what doesn't work. Well, how about if we do this? I've been thinking for years we should try this way. Hell yeah. And all of a sudden, now it works like a charm.
Yeah. I love it. I just hired a new plant manager. He's new to our company. And he was asking me, should I do this? Or can I do this? And I looked at him and I said, it's your plant. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I hired you to be my plant manager. I said, do it how you feel it needs to be done. And he looked at me and says, you've been running this for 8 years and you've been leading manufacturing businesses for 30 years. I go, I know, but I'm going to do it my way. I want you to do it your way. I want to learn from you. And he was like, oh yeah, let's go. I mean, it was just empowering for him to have that conversation that, look, I hired you to do the job and do it. And surprise me with the results. I think that's a fun way to be. I mean, it gives, when you empower people, one of the things we didn't talk about was engagement, but that's one way you can get people engaged, when you empower them to say, you have the authority, go fix it. Go use your creativity, use your mind, use your experience. I want to see what you can do.
Yeah. So what you did is you gave them an invitation to step up, right?
Yeah.
Step up. It's your baby.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to follow the way I did it recipe, right? So, so think about how engaged, how empowered he is now. And he's there because this is his thing, rather than you saying, well, here's this SOP, your standard operating procedures. I want it done this way. Make it happen.
Yeah.
He would be near as engaged. He'd be like, okay, he's following the rules. Where's the innovation there?
Yeah.
Where's the creativity? Where's the building a better mousetrap or a better process? It's not there.
Yeah, it is fun because I walk on the plant now and he's, let me show you what I'm doing. Let me show you this. Let me do this. And then this other employee came up with this idea and we're trying this sort of thing. And I'm like, okay, this is great. And like, I walk out, I don't recognize and I'm excited because they found a better way to run the production line that I would have come up with already. We've got a new layout that I'm just excited about, but I wouldn't have come up with it. And I think that's, I really love it when you empower people, they get excited and they deliver 10 times more than you would have done on your own. I always think that's the best part of leadership when that happens. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I mean, as I tell a lot of clients who are, you've got to pry their fingers off the day-to-day stuff because they don't, they don't trust their employees to handle it the way they do. Well, of course, they're not going to handle the way you do because they're not you. Yeah. But what I'm hearing you say is, and this is something I tell clients, is you need to step back so they can step up.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's exactly what you did. And the guy stepped up and he's blossoming and things are improving. And it's wonderful.
Yeah. It's absolutely great. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. I swear the time goes so fast on these discussions. And but I wanted to give you a chance. What final message would you like to leave with our listeners about this topic?
One of the things we didn't get to talk about that I ask all my clients to focus on is defining what is satisfaction for you. Why would that be important? Well, let me say it this way. Most people walk around with this sort of attitude of, this isn't it. If only my life were more better, different, I'd be happy. So I have a mentor, the same mentor from like 37 years ago. This is maybe 35 years ago. He said, hey, do you want to know the secret of life? I said, absolutely. What is it? He goes, getting exactly what you want, being ultimately satisfied. And, you think about that. I have everything I want. Everything I want, I have. Right? I'm satisfied 100%. That's pretty freaking awesome. Right? So he said, okay, so how are you going to get it? I was like, ask for what you want. He goes, yeah. I said, but more importantly than that, know what you want. And that takes work. That takes time. Most people spend more time planning a vacation than they've ever spent thinking about what I want out of my life, what's going to ultimately satisfy me in all aspects of my life. But in terms of being a business owner, what do you want your business to look like? What's the revenue supposed to be? What's the profit supposed to be? What compensation to you? What kind of culture you're going to have in your business? What kind of employees? What's your market? What's the goods and services? And even beyond now. And again, it's all about designing your business into the future, purposefully, intentionally, rather than you just doing what you've been doing and force it to the market and customers and regulations and technology, all that stuff changing. It's going to push your business somewhere you probably won't like. And how many business owners have you talked to? It's like, we were doing the same thing we were doing 20 years ago, so successful. Now it doesn't work so good. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lead your business into the future. Absolutely.
But it takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistent practice of what is going to satisfy me. And along the way, you're going to find some things you say you wanted. When you actually get them, it's like, I didn't really want this. I don't like this, something else. So it's something you always have to refine. But if you don't spend time, if you never declare what will be satisfaction, you will never be satisfied. That makes sense?
100%. Such great, powerful advice from someone that's been doing it for years. I love that. That's why we bring experts on the show. Cary, you hit it out of the park with that. I just think it's a great closing message. Leaders, something we should be thinking about all the time. We spend more time thinking about what's going to satisfy us, what we really want out of life, other than spending time planning our next vacation. I absolutely love this powerful message. Cary, how can people find out more about you and your company and all that you do?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. I have a page there. Better yet would be to find me find my website. It's strategicbusinessadvisors, plural.org.org. You can schedule a free consultation with me there. You can see some client testimonials. You can read what we do, the smart lessons. You find out more about me and the company there. And like I said, if you're interested, I'd love to sit down and have a free consultation with you for an hour. Just talk about your business, what's working, maybe what's not working, where you want to head. So let me say it this way. What's happening in your business that you wish wasn't there any longer? What's not happening in your business that you wish was happening? And what's happening in your business that you wish were different somehow? Right? Those are the kind of conversations we have. And all that leads to, and what would satisfy you. And again, until you declare these are the results I want to produce, these are the results I want produced, it's hard. Otherwise, it just comes down, well, you're doing it wrong. If when you declare these are the results I want produced in this function, then you can easily design a process that will consistently produce those results. Other than, this ain't it. I'm not happy. We're not selling enough. We're not profitable enough. But we're only 10% ahead of last year. We're not 20% ahead of last year.
That's great. Great feedback. And again, this is, leaders, this is why we bring guests like this on the show, to get you, to challenge you, to your thinking, get to think differently about what you're doing in your business. We're going to put links in the show notes for all of Cary's resources. And again, as he mentioned, he does a free consultation. We love free things on this show. So reach out to him. We have his website. We have him on LinkedIn. It's right here in the show notes. Go ahead and click on that. If something that he said has got you thinking, reach out to him. Ask him a question. Tell him you saw him on the podcast and you had some questions about what he's doing. But here's the deal. If you really want to be successful in your business, find somebody that is outside your business and give you advice and help you steer that ship, because you can't do it alone. It's too complicated. There's too much going on. You need support. You need a coach. You need a mentor. You need someone like Cary on your side. So I highly encourage you to reach out to Cary if this is something that really resonated with you, because he can help you. Cary, thanks for coming on the show. Thank you for the work that you're doing and all of the ideas that you gave us in this podcast to help us be better leaders and to run our businesses more successfully.
Oh, yeah, with my pleasure. I enjoyed the conversation. Really nice.
I did as well. So thank you very much. Well, that is it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Rennie saying take care and lead well.
Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all you do.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and updates, please visit our website at www.deepleadershippodcast.com or johnsrennie.com. Until next time, take care.
Everyone has heard about the U.S. space program, but what is actually going on at NASA? Get the real story in 4 minutes or less with the NASA Daily Podcast from Electricast. Join astronauts and researchers as they conduct groundbreaking experiments, work on the International Space Station, and reach for the stars. NASA Daily, your cosmic update.
Electricast. Hi, I'm Sherilyn Fenn from Twin Peaks. What did you do on your last Saturday night?
Did you hear something?
Toilet paper.
There's nada. The reserves have gone dry. People are hoarding it. I should have done that.
They're all out of hand sanitizer at my Target.
Mark, when did you last watch the news?
We are getting reports of forced quarantines in China, Japan, and now Italy.
You're cutting onions in half and putting them around your apartment.
Yes, exactly. It kills the COVID.
Excuse me?
Let's go, get in.
Vamos, rápido.
Have you ever driven one of these?
Never.
I'll drive, ladies.
I've got the keys.
Excuse me, I'm lost. I'm looking for my wife. I got turned around.
Join me, Eric Roberts, Jennifer Elise Cox, and Ed Asner for The Last Saturday Night, an Electricast podcast. You'll love it.
Electricast.